We are live for another episode of the Couch Warrior podcast. As always, I'm your host, Mike, and today we're going to be breaking down UFC Vancouver. I believe we've got 13 fights to talk about. It's a solid card, not my favorite in the world, but also not the worst. And we do have some good cards coming up, so it's okay. And all right, so we'll be quick because in about an hour and a half, I'll be going live with the boys over at Beat the Line Broadcast. Very excited to be on their show once again. Those are three guys I really like to break down fights with. So if for some reason after this you want to listen to more of me, tune into the Beat the Line Broadcast. We'll be going live at 8 o'clock Eastern time on their channel. What's up, Jackson? Jackson's saying, what's up, Couch? Sad no more Dana White's Contender Series. I mean, I love Dana White's Contender Series. This year was really, really weird. I think I have to do the math. I think I ended up losing maybe like 2 units. I kept most weeks small, mostly played underdogs as usual. And the last 2 Dana White's Contender Series events I was break even, right? So week 9, I had, I was going to go through this anyways. Week 9, I had Roque Jr. money line that lost. And then I had a totals parlay that cashed. So I profited 87 cents. So break even. And then yesterday I had Jovan Leka at plus 103 for a unit. That cashed. I thought he would finish, honestly. But, you know, the read was pretty much on point. Nuftalaev will take him down in the first round. He's going to get absolutely exhausted. He did. And then Leka took over, got the decision. That was a good cash. But then I had Juan Diaz and Quan to go the fight. Not fight goes. I had the over 2.5 at plus 149. We're heading towards the end of the second round. My main concern going into the fight was Diaz being able to eat the shots of Quan. I was not concerned about Quan eating the shots of Diaz because I didn't feel like Diaz hit that hard. And then Diaz, with like 10 seconds left in the second round, just does the spinning elbow, beautiful one, by the way, and gets the finish. So broke even again. I believe I profited $3, $3 whole. So that's good, but broke even. And we did have a good UFC, though. We had a good UFC Rio. Did very well on the money lines, except for, 2. One of them was an actual bad read. That was backing Mateus Gamrot at chalk against Oliveira. Oliveira looked different. It looked like Gamrot didn't even belong in there with him. And I don't mean like different than usual for Oliveira. I just mean like he looked special that night. And that was a bad bet. But then I also had Lucas Almeida at plus 124, I think, for a unit, and then round 3 knockout for 0.1 unit. Look, like, come on. Come on. Everybody knows that was so rigged. That was so messed up. The UFC already knew that they lost a fight. They didn't want to be down to 10 fights. They checked with Almeida. Can you just do it? We'll pay you. Almeida said, okay, and Almeida just did it. And then they come out afterwards, and the commission's like, oh, yeah, his hand was broken, but we checked before he was good. BS, absolute BS. That fight should not have happened. And, that result is what happens when you can't use your right hand, and you need your right hand. He could not punch with it, and he couldn't even defend himself with it. So it is what it is, but I am not blaming myself for that one. And then we did cash on Lucas Rocha. That was a great bet. Cash on Con Ofli. That was a nice bet. Cash the half unit bet on Figgy. That was nice. Cash on Pinto to win 1 unit because I ended up getting him at chalk because, me and my reverse CLV. And then the props didn't do too well. Well, the props were honestly sharp, in my opinion. I think it's pretty clear they were, but they just didn't cash. Like the first one was Mesquita Alex Silva fight ends by KO. What happens? Mesquita gets on top, spends the entire first round trying to get the TKO, raining elbows down. Ref doesn't call it. She's like, okay, well, I got to win this fight. And then comes out, gets the sub. So I lose a quarter unit there. And then I have Mario Pinto by sub at plus 1,400. This man tried every sub he could think of in the first round. And then second round, he comes out there and just gets a TKO on the ground. I mean, that stuff, it's MMA. At the end of the day, I still profited 2.35 units after the lotto. I believe it was 2.1. It was 2.1 units profit, and I'll take it. And now let's jump into this card because we have less than an hour and a half left. Jackson saying, Austin, you're going to be on B2I. Yeah, they're a dope group of guys. I love their show. I watch it every week too, especially Pegasus and his pronunciations. What's up, McMuffin? What's up, Jammer? Thank you for tuning in, my guy. But all right, guys, let's jump into the card. First fight of the night, we have Melissa Croden versus Tainara Lisboa. Croden, she's going to be 6'2". She's going to be 5'9" with a 69.5-inch reach. Lisboa on the other side, she's 7'3". She's going to be 34. We don't have the age for Croden. I believe she's around the same, though. I don't think she's super young. I think she's like 32 or 33. Lisboa is two inches shorter, and she's going to have a 2-inch reach disadvantage. I'll be honest. I know some people who are on Croden, and I went into the tape thinking, okay, like big physical looking woman, underdog fighting, was the underdog. Now she's a favorite, fighting in Canada at home. Okay, like let's see what's up. And I wasn't really that impressed. Like her 2 losses on her record aren't bad. One of them is Cavalcanti, and she's doing really well in the UFC right now. But she was getting hurt by Jacqueline, and Jacqueline doesn't have a ton of power, so it wasn't the best look in the world. And then the other fight with Evelyn Martins, I think is how you say it. Like Evelyn couldn't take her down, but she didn't really try all that hard. I think she got her down like once, but for the most part, she wasn't trying that hard to take her down. And that's where she's best, is the grappling. And Croden was able to be competitive in the striking, but she still lost. And everybody else she's beating is not good at all. And like her last 2 wins are both, I believe. Wait, I thought they were clinched. I guess this is how they're listing it was finished, but they were clinched knees. Like she clinches up and she just starts ripping knees, and it's good. Like it's a really good weapon of hers. And with her length, those knees can come up high, especially when she's fighting shorter opponents. But like everything else is just nothing special. Like her striking's okay. Like I think her hands are solid. Her kicks are better than her boxing, I think. And her clinch knees are good, but she's hittable. She's got a tall woman's defense. Chin is up in the air. She's kind of like a noodle, and she doesn't really grapple. That's the other thing. I keep hearing that, Lisboa, because she spent some time on her back against Ravena Oliveira, that Croden's going to get on top and just beat. When did Croden do that? When does Croden grapple? She doesn't grapple. She doesn't offensively wrestle. So, like, I just don't understand where that narrative is coming from. And then, like, okay, so what's going to happen? Like, okay, with Lisboa, you have somebody who, yeah, she hasn't looked great, but one fight was Luana Santos, and Luana Santos, in my opinion, would whoop Croden as well. And she's young. She's a judo black belt. Like, she's legit. Even though I've had moments where I haven't trusted Luana Santos, I've tried to fade her, but I think she's better than Croden. And also a very different matchup because she can actually grapple. And if I remember correctly, Lisboa, she comes from a Muay Thai background. Her striking's pretty good in her own right. I think she has the better hands out of the 2 of them, and I think she has more power in her hands out of the 2 of them. Croden maybe has a little bit better of a kicking game, but does she have the range management to really like keep Lisboa away where she can't reach her and she can just pop her kicks? No, she doesn't really have that. Now, if Lisboa crashes the pocket, yeah, Croden will clinch up and start ripping knees, but Lisboa can rip knees too. She's also pretty good in the clinch. And then it's like, okay, like there's this narrative of Ravena took her down, Croden can too. Like I said, I don't see how, like, when Croden is doing that. And Ravena Oliveira is like a decent grappler, and we don't know that much about her to start calling her a bum because she lost one time in the UFC to Lisboa. And like Lisboa's a pretty good grappler too. Like her entries on the takedowns are pretty nice. When she's on top, she's pretty heavy there. She's got solid ground and pound, and like her jiu-jitsu is not terrible either. So, like in Melissa Croden's favor, she's the taller woman, better with the clinch knees. I think that's a good weapon for her, and she's fighting at home. But Lisboa, I think, is just a better overall fighter. I think she's more well-rounded. I think that she's going to have grappling upside. I think that she's better with the hands, and she'll be competitive striking. I don't think Croden's going to be that much better than her, if at all. And I just think it's going to be a really close fight, and I kind of rather side with the woman who's been in the UFC longer, who actually has UFC fights, isn't making her debut, doesn't have the pressure of making her debut at home, and has some grappling upside, and it's a close fight. So I'm going to go with Lisboa. I'm not really sold on Croden. Maybe she'll change my mind after this fight, but I'm going to lean with Lisboa in that one. Next up, we have Azamat Bekoev versus Yousri Belgaroui. Bekoev 23-0. He's 29 years old, 6 feet tall with a 72-inch reach. Belgaroui 8-3-0. He's 33. He's 4 years older. He's going to be 5 inches taller, and he's going to have a 7-inch reach advantage. So just a little bit of narrative out of the way first. If you're not familiar with Belgaroui, he was on the Contender Series first against Marco Tullio, I believe, 2 years ago. This is back when they were chasing. They wanted to recreate what they had with Pereira and Izzy, where they fought in kickboxing. Izzy became champ. Pereira chased him, got to the UFC, worked his way up, and took him out. They wanted to build that narrative again. They tried it multiple times. Cesar Almeida was one. What's that Russian dude's name? He's really good. I forget his name, the Russian dude. And Belgaroui is another guy. So they wanted to bring in Belgaroui, have him beat Tullio, and have him work up the rankings, fight Pereira, and have that narrative going. And then he loses to Tullio. Dana's pissed as all hell. Doesn't sign Tullio off that win either because he's pissed. Then they bring back Belgaroui on the Contender Series again. I believe it was this one. No, this one. Taiga Iwasaki. And that dude is no good. No good whatsoever. Belgaroui takes until the third round, and the dude is super hittable. Belgaroui beats up on him, but takes until the third round to finish him. And Dana's pissed again, this time at Belgaroui, and it's like, I'm not going to sign you off of that. Doesn't sign him. He doesn't get the contract. And then Bekoev had a fight. Let me pull this up. I remember Bekoev had a fight. I forget against who. Yeah, he was supposed to fight Finney back in August. And then Finney dropped out. They replaced him with Belgaroui. And then that fight fell through, but Bekoev said the UFC really liked this matchup, so they're going to keep it and they're going to move it to a different card, and they moved it to Vancouver. I think the UFC is trying to give Bekoev an easy win. I don't know that it's actually going to be easy. The UFC is not always correct. I actually think this could be a relatively difficult fight. I'll talk about it in a second. But just narrative-wise, I do not think they're bringing in Belgaroui to win. I don't think they like him anymore. I think they gave up on that whole kickboxer chasing the other kickboxer up the rankings. I don't think Pereira is going to stick around long enough for Belgaroui to be able to make that happen. And they have someone in Bekoev who, for once, is not a boring Russian, who comes out there and actually knocks people out, and is on a two fights in a row. He's got a first round knockout. I think he's the one they're trying to build. I don't think it's Belgaroui they're trying to build. And Bekoev is 29 years old only, while Belgaroui's already 33. So that just a little bit of narrative out of the way. Now, how they match up. Look, Belgaroui is definitely a better striker. He's a good striker. He's very clean. The kicks are really nice. The combinations with the hands are pretty good. He mixes it all together well. He targets the body relatively well. Solid jab, but he doesn't have a ton of power. He is pretty fast, and he is good in the clinch. He's got some nice clinch knees too. He's a solid striker. Like, he's a good striker. He's a good striker, Belgaroui. And the takedown defense, honestly, isn't bad either. Like, he does a lot of the right things. And because he's so tall and lanky, I know from experience when I wrestled, I hated wrestling tall dudes. He's one of the reasons why. Like, you can see it with him. He's very tricky to take down. They can tripod when you get one leg, and he's not easy to take down, but I don't think he's great off of his back. And I know I'm really only working with the Tullio fight to come to that conclusion, because that hasn't really happened much. It hasn't really happened other than that. But I just think that once Bekoev gets him down, I don't think it'll be easy for Bekoev to get him down. But once he does, I think Bekoev is going to have a big advantage. I think the ground and pound is going to be there all day. I think Bekoev has nasty ground and pound, and I think he's going to really beat up on Belgaroui. And on the feet, Bekoev is going to be pressuring forward. He's not really going to be allowing Belgaroui to dictate the pace. So while Belgaroui, yeah, he's got all these great kicks, what good is that going to do if Bekoev is closing the distance, taking away the kicking space, and landing his big shots? And in terms of just pure boxing, kickboxing, yeah, Belgaroui all day. Boxing, Bekoev's not bad either. He's got solid hands. He does swing a little bit wide at times, but he's got a lot of power. I think he hits harder than Belgaroui too. So I don't count out Bekoev for knocking out Belgaroui on the feet. I think he'll take him down, and I think he can beat up on him on the ground. I think he can win decision. I think he can win by knockout. I don't really think sub, but there's also this whole thing where people hate on Bekoev's cardio because of one fight against Dylan Butka, where yeah, it wasn't the prettiest performance ever, but he went 5 rounds. He won, and people use that to say he has bad cardio. And then, he comes out, beats Lucas Fernando over 5 rounds, which is an impressive win, in my opinion, and completely dominates him in the grappling. I really think he's going to come out here and get it done. I'm going to go Bekoev. Let's go KO round 2. Moving on, we've got Stephanie Luciano versus Ravena Oliveira. Luciano, she's going to be 6'2" and 125 years old, 5'6" with a 66.5-inch reach. Oliveira on the other side, she's going to be 7'2" and 128 years old, so she's 3 years older, going to be 1 inch shorter, and she's going to have a 1 inch reach disadvantage. So worth bringing up, Ravena Oliveira is coming down 2 weight classes. She fought at bantamweight, her only fight in the UFC, her UFC debut against Tainara Lisboa. And prior to that, she's fought at both bantamweight and flyweight. She's never fought at strawweight, and she's coming down 2 weight classes for this fight to strawweight. And I think it's pretty relevant, honestly, and I'll explain why. So with Luciano, I'm pretty high on her. I laid chalk on her against Sam Hughes when I wasn't really believing in Sam Hughes, and I was believing in Luciano. And, she lost that fight. It was a competitive fight, and we know Sam Hughes she's not going to be champ, but she's going to be probably ranked in the division, and probably for a while she's going to be a good gatekeeper. She's going to be a good gatekeeper, and Luciano put on a good fight against her. Luciano, she's a good striker. She throws good output. She mixes it together well with the kicks, the hands and the kicks. She's got a clean 1-2 down the pipe. She's relatively fast. She does not have a ton of power. That's one thing I've noticed with her. She doesn't really hit very hard, and I still think her grappling is really green. Her takedown defense has improved a lot, especially since that first fight with Alenkar on the Contender Series. We saw that in her second fight with Alenkar in the UFC. Like, the takedown defense is better, but I still think that once you do take her down, she can get stuck on her back. And I do think that she can also be controlled in the clinch, because I honestly don't think she's very strong. With Ravena Oliveira, I know she hasn't been impressive. And when I'm looking at her fights, there's really not a lot of tape, honestly. At least not a lot of recent tape. But when I'm watching her, like against Lisboa, you didn't really get to see the striking because they were grappling the entire time. Her striking looked okay. Nothing special. Not horrendous, but not great either. And she does throw a little bit loopy. So if it's like that in this fight, Luciano will be throwing straight down the pipe. And you look at her regional tape, and her striking is not much different. She's throwing really big shots, swinging really hard, and it's almost always hooks and big loops. But don't forget, she's been out for 2 years. She had an ACL injury. She had the surgery, and that could be bad on one hand, but on the other, she's probably taken enough time to recover. It's been 2 years now, and at 28 years old, when your last fight is at 26, next one's at 28. You had 2 years in between, and just looking through her Instagram, it does seem like she's been training. She can come in looking way different. And if her striking is improving and has improved in these last 2 years, because I'm about to talk about the grappling, then I think she can be a problem for Luciano. Even if she doesn't, I think she might be a problem for Luciano. And here's why. Oliveira's, when she's up at 135 against Lisboa, right? And Lisboa is not weak and not super small. Oliveira was able to keep her up against the cage when they were clinching a lot of the time. She was able to rack up a lot of control time in the clinch against Lisboa. And when you look at her other fights in the regional scene, yeah, the competition's not great, but she's also keeping them against the fence. She's very strong there. So, and her grappling's not bad either. Like, the way she took down Lisboa, she got her down a couple of times. I thought the entries were pretty nice. I thought the wrestling looked pretty solid. And on top, she had pretty good control. It was hard for Lisboa to get back up. That could be because Lisboa doesn't have great get-ups. It could be because she has great control. We don't know yet because we don't have enough information. But the way I'm thinking is, if Oliveira's used to holding up 135-pound women up against the cage, if she's used to taking down 135-pound women and keeping them there on the ground, now she's moving down 2 weight classes. If she makes the weight and looks healthy, isn't she going to be a lot stronger? Isn't she going to be used to fighting a lot stronger women? And Luciano, like I said, I don't think she's very strong. I don't think she's very physical. I think that if Oliveira comes in here, if she improved the striking in the last 2 years, even better. But even if she didn't, I think if she comes in here and just puts on a boring fight, just puts Luciano to the cage, starts clinching her, throwing little shots just enough so the ref doesn't separate them, I think she's going to rack up a lot of minutes of control time against the cage and win minutes that way. And then if she gets on top Luciano, I think Luciano might struggle to get back up. So for me, this is a major dog or pass. I haven't made a play on Oliveira yet, but I kind of feel like I should. I will pick Luciano just because from the information I have, I think she's better. And I don't love when a fighter's been out for 2 years, no matter how young they are, but especially when they had an ACL surgery. But this is a major dog or pass. I would not lay the chalk on Luciano. I don't think it's a good idea, and we can move on. Next up, we have Kyle Prepolec versus Drew Dober. Kyle, he's going to be 18-9-0, 36 years old, 5'10" with a 70-inch reach. Dober, 27-15-0. He's 36 as well. He's going to be 5'8", so he's 2 inches shorter, and he's going to have the same reach. This is a weird fight. I think I'm going to stay away because, look, a couple years ago, Drew Dober is our rightful minus 1,000 favorite just because Kyle doesn't really do anything special. Drew Dober has always had legendary durability. Because of that, he can move forward, take your shots, and land the bigger ones and knock you out. He's not the best minute winner, though. You can see that in his 7-7 in decisions record. And that legendary durability that he's relied on is gone. Maybe it's not gone, but it seems like it's starting to go. He's getting knocked out. He's getting finished. He's not taking these shots like he used to. And, I mean, realistically, how long could that hold up? Like, how long has he been in the UFC? How many UFC fights has he had? Pro fights. He has over 40 pro fights. And his defense isn't good. He doesn't manage range. He doesn't cover up well. He doesn't do anything nice defensively. And because of that, now, once that durability goes, what's left? Like, okay, he'll come forward. He's still going to fight the same. He's going to be moving forward. He's going to be trying to throw and land big shots, but he's going to be eating them too because he doesn't have the defense. And now Kyle isn't the best striker in the world. I don't really like his boxing, but he does have good kicks and he does hit relatively hard. He's got 10 knockout wins. The competition is very low, and Drew Dober has been competing at a much higher level. But it's not really the skill for skill I'm concerned about. It's just that the Dober's game is trust my durability, move forward, land the big shots, because he's not the most technical. He's not an amazing grappler. Like, that's his game, is durability, move forward, land big shots. And now you don't have that durability. Is he really that much ahead of Prepolec? Like, I think he's ahead. I have a feeling that Prepolec could knock him out, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And I don't think Dober is a good bet at minus 500. I just don't think that's smart. When Kyle, he's nothing special. He will not be UFC champion. He's 36 years old. He's only in the UFC because they brought him to lose to BSD. But he's solid. He's a serviceable fighter, and he's a solid striker. And if Drew Dober's not coming out here and grappling him, which I don't really expect from Dober, then I don't see why Kyle can't knock him out. Because Dober himself, he's a better striker, I guess, and he's a better boxer, yeah, but he's not like super special in the striking, and he doesn't have range management. He doesn't control the distance. He doesn't move his head. So I just think he can get knocked out, I guess, long story short. I think he's going to win ultimately. I honestly feel like he might not knock out Kyle, especially because there's also the chance that Drew Dober comes in here and pulls an Arlovsky, and it's like, okay, if I want to stick around in the UFC and I want to keep my MMA career, I need to change my game plan. And he starts fighting more defensively, maybe even mixing in wrestling. Then he has a more of an advantage here because Kyle, he can't really defend takedowns very well. It's not just BSD, just in general, his takedown defense isn't great. And if Dober comes out here and starts wrestling like that, he can get it done. I just don't know that he's going to. I'm going to pick Dober. I'll pick him by decision, I guess, because I kind of think Kyle is also very durable, and I don't really know if Drew Dober is going to knock him out or not. He could, because Kyle's hittable as well in his own right. But yeah, I'll just stick with the decision just because I can't make up my mind. And like it's dog or pass, but I don't want to bet on Kyle either. What's up, Glembot? If I'm not mistaken, you had a crazy week last week. You did very well. So shout out to you if I'm remembering correctly. But next up, we have Danny Barlow versus Djorden Santos. Barlow, he's going to be 9-1-0, 30 years old, 6'2" with a 79-inch reach. Santos on the other side, he's 10-2-0. He's 28, so he's going to be 2 years younger. He's going to be 2 inches shorter, though, and he's going to be at let's call it a 4-inch reach disadvantage. So a couple things to note here. First up, Barlow's moving up to 185. I think that on one hand, it could be a little concerning if it slows him down. On the other, I feel like this dude might hit really, really hard at 185. And we've seen with guys when they move up, that sometimes the power does, not only translate, but improve. Like, look at Sam Patterson, right? So I'm looking at Danny Barlow, and I'm looking at how he looks at 185 just based off the Instagram stuff. Looks pretty good. He looks huge. He looks like really big and really physical, and I think it might be good for him in the long run. Maybe the chin will be even better. Not that I think he has a bad chin. I think just Patterson's on a run right now, and he got caught just being a little bit too aggressive. But I think the move could end up being good for him. And on the Santos side, you have a guy who's not the greatest. He tries really hard. He throws a lot of output. And he did move to American Top Team, which I think will help him a lot in the long run. I just don't know. Like, he's only been there, from what I understand, like a few months, maybe more than a couple. But I don't think that's really going to change all that much. And I have my issues with Danny Barlow. Don't get me wrong. I faded him more than once. I faded him with Patterson, but I also faded him with Quinlan. I faded him with Veretennikov. Pretty sure I had Forrest. Not positive on that one, actually. But these two, Quinlan also, I'm not positive. I think I had Quinlan sub. And I definitely had Veretennikov. But like, I've had my issues with Barlow because I think sometimes he can be very low output, and I think his grappling is green. But the Jourdain Santos isn't much of a grappler, and I don't think a few months, even a half year at ATT is all of a sudden going to make him a tremendous wrestler that I think is going to pose issues to Barlow on the ground. I'm not seeing that. I think Barlow's takedown defense is pretty good. I think that it hasn't really been tested by great grapplers yet, but I don't think he's fighting a great grappler. I think he's fighting a guy who's mostly a striker who might be adding grappling to his game, and maybe he'll try on Barlow. But I think that Barlow's takedown defense is good, and he's very athletic as well. And then on the feet, like, I do like that Santos throws a lot, but the way he strikes, like, he's so, like, I don't know how to, he's not like stiff. He's like a little square, and then he just swings really it's all hooks. It's a lot of hooks with the occasional jab down the pipe, and he's just so hittable. And because of the way he's striking, that's why Ozzy Diaz was landing jabs and 1-2s down the pipe easy all day long. And it's like, if Ozzy Diaz can come out there and beat you by just landing a jab and a 1-2 over and over and over again, because you don't have any defense, you're very easy to read, and you keep throwing the same strikes, and they're all loopy. Why can't Danny Barlow, who also has a good jab, who also has a good 1-2, but also has a nasty left hook, why can't he beat you up? I just feel like Danny Barlow is going to beat him up. I feel like Santos's striking defense is just too poor to compete. Now, I have my concerns that if maybe Barlow comes out there and is a little gun shy after getting knocked out by Peterson, maybe Santos can start to get ahead of him on the cards. And, you know, maybe he comes out of ATT and has some just miraculous change, and he's just amazing now at everything, and he can grapple and this and that. But I just lean towards the side of Danny Barlow coming out here and just beating up Santos, maybe knocking him out, if not winning a relatively dominant decision. So I'll go Barlow KO. I think maybe like round 3 after he's really landed a lot of damage. Next up, we have Bruno Silva versus Young Sung Park. Silva 14-7-2. He's 35 years old. He's going to be 5'4" with a 66-inch reach. Park 10-1-0. He's 29, so he's going to be 6 years younger. He's going to be 3 inches taller, and he's going to have the same reach. So first off, I did not have the time to tape this one. I'm kind of glad on one hand the Contender Series is over because it's been really hard for me to keep up with both at the same time. I just haven't had the time to do so. So I didn't get to tape this fight yet, but just off of what I know, and I mean, I know both of them very well. I was on Park last time against Tainara. I took the dog shot, not even close. Just wasn't ready for that level. And with Silva, I've lost money on Silva. I've won money on Silva. With Van, I think I had $25 on him at like plus 550. I had a quarter unit. Cop, I don't think I touched that fight. I might have had Djorden in this one. I don't remember. I don't remember if I had anything here. And I don't remember if I had, that was so long ago. You see, he's not very active. That's one thing with him. And he's getting up there in age. His chin is starting to go. Like, I understand why Park is the favorite. It's just like, at least pre-tape, I don't fully understand. Why does it look like that? Okay, that's a little better. I just don't really understand why Park is this much of a favorite, because it's like, okay, yeah, Silva's durability isn't great, but who is Park really knocking out outside of? Did he knock out Carlos? No, he subbed him. It was just Shannon Ross. Like, he knocked out Shannon Ross. Great job. Good job. So did everybody else, including Jesus Aguilar with an overhand. I mean, like, his striking's pretty good, but his output's not great, and I don't think he carries a tremendous amount of power. And is he that much better of a striker than Silva? I don't know if he's at all a better striker than Silva. Silva's got good boxing. He does struggle at times because his reach is so short and he's so small. But Park has the same reach. Park is taller, so he could still lean over a little bit and reach from farther away. But I don't think this is a blowout on the feet. And then, is it a blowout on the ground? I don't think so. Bruno Silva has great takedown defense, but on top of that, he also has good wrestling. And very good jiu-jitsu. So do I think Park is just going to take him down and sub him? No. Do I think that Park is going to come out here and just grapple him for 15 minutes? I kind of have a hard time believing that as well. So it's like, on one hand, do I want to risk it on Silva and risk it with the durability and go against the guy who, outside of one short notice fight against Tainara, has been on an uptrend? I don't know. I'm going to have to tape to find out. For now, I'll go with Park. I'll pick decision just based off of youth, but I'm pre-tape. I haven't taped it yet. So once I do, maybe my mind will change. Next up, we have Charles Jourdain versus Davey Grant. Jourdain is 16-8-1. He's 29 years old, 5'9" with a 69-inch reach. On the other side, Grant, he's going to be 15-7-0, 39. He's 10 years older. He's going to be 1 inch shorter, though, and they're going to have the same reach. So this is a fight that I did tape, but I want to do more on it. It's a fight that I kind of moved away from. I just wanted to move on to other things, and I'm going to go back to it and try to get a better read on it because I don't have a great read. But I know these two pretty well. And I think I have pretty good reads on both of them. With Davey Grant, I played him against Blackshear, cashed, felt really good. But that was a really different matchup. And a lot of that was narrative-based for me because I felt like, okay, I don't think Davey's going to be able to stop Blackshear's grappling. I don't. And I expected him to lose that first round. But I was listening to his interviews, and I don't often do this, but sometimes I do. And when it's like in a different place far away, like it was then, it was somewhere in the Middle East. I don't remember exactly where. I was listening to their interviews, and Davey Grant was saying, like, yeah, I've been here for weeks. Like, I knew I should come out here early and get prepared. He was there. He was getting ready. And even if he didn't, he's over in the UK. It's a lot closer than the US. And then Blackshear, I knew that in the past he's had trouble cutting weight. I knew that he's a big guy. I knew that he's flying really, really far, and cutting weight while doing that is really difficult. And I knew that, you know, health things have bothered him before in fights, like when he fought Cody Gibson and he had like a stomach bug and he fought pretty poorly before getting the finish. So because of that, I was like, okay, should Davey be plus whatever it was, plus 2 something when, you know, he's prepared, he's been there, he's ready, he's going to match Blackshear in the striking and throw more output if he can just keep it on the feet. And Blackshear might not have the cardio to wrestle him for 3 rounds, so I took the shot on Grant. Here, I don't feel any kind of narrative edge like that. And then in terms of like an edge just based off of what I'm seeing, I think the line's like okay. Like I think it's okay. I know that Jourdain hasn't had the prettiest record. Again, that was at 145, and I mean guys like Gene Silva, guys like Sean Woodson, and Sean Woodson is a completely different matchup than Davey Grant. You know, and obviously so is Gene Silva. But now at bantamweight, I think it's a pretty good move for him. It's weird because him and his brother are in the same weight class, but like let's break it down piece by piece. On the feet, I think Jourdain is cleaner. I like his striking more. I think he's cleaner. I think he's a little bit faster. I think that he's got a few more tools and weapons on the feet. I like his kicks. I like how he'll mix in knees and elbows here and there. With Davey Grant, you know, we all know what his striking looks like. It's not like it's very unorthodox. It's extremely unorthodox. It's a lot of big looping shots that come from the hip. He'll literally load up at the hip and just throw like this, like this, like this. So obviously, if you can throw straight down the pipe, you are going to land first. But he does hit hard. He throws a lot. He targets the body well, and he has good leg kicks too. He's a good striker, Davey Grant, despite his age of 39, because he doesn't fight super often. He fights just often enough where he's not getting ring rust, but not often enough to get the brain damage and all that. He's remained pretty durable at this age, and he's still looking pretty good. But I'm not really quite sure who hits harder. I think both of them hit pretty hard. I maybe lean towards Grant having a little bit more power, but I just like Jourdain striking a little bit more. And I don't think grappling is going to come into play here. Neither of them is the best grappler defensively. Both of them can be out-wrestled, and both of them can occasionally mix in takedowns, but I don't really think either of them is going to. I think this is going to be a really exciting fight. I think they're going to put on a war for Canada, for Montreal. It is Montreal, right? Or did I just make that up off the top of my head? It's not. It's Vancouver. I don't know why I said Montreal. I think they're going to put on a war for Vancouver. But ultimately, I got to go with the guy who's literally 10 years younger, who I think is a little bit of a slicker striker. He's fighting at home. And I just think that, yeah, I just think he's going to be able to outstrike Davey Grant. That's really all it comes down to. And don't forget, even though I said Davey Grant's relatively durable, he does get hurt. He does get hurt. He can be knocked down. He's hard to knock out, but he can be knocked down. Even I remember one of my first cards. It was shortly after I got into betting MMA. I've been watching for a long time, but not betting for a long time. And I remember Davey Grant was fighting Martin Day. And he got knocked down in that fight. And Martin Day is not much of a hitter. And it's been more than once even since then, I'm pretty sure. Let me pull it up. I've watched so many fights recently, I don't want to talk out of my ass. Yeah, him and Martinez dropped him too before he knocked Martinez out. And I believe that was it, but I caught that too, my bad. But yeah, long story short, I like Jourdain. I think decision. I think he gets it done at home, though. Next up, we have Kyle Nelson versus Matt Frevola. Nelson, he's going to be 16, 6-1. He's going to be 34 years old, 5'11" with a 71-inch reach. Frevola on the other side, he's going to be 11, 5-1. He's 35, so he's 1 year older. He's going to be 2 inches shorter, and he's going to have the same reach. I feel like this is almost a mirror match, even aside from them kind of looking alike, but I feel like it's almost a mirror match in that they have really, really similar striking. They both have a lot of power. Neither of them has great defense. And I just feel like the one little difference is that I think Frevola grapples better and is a better offensive wrestler, whereas Kyle Nelson, I think, hits harder out of the two of them. So it really comes down to how they choose to fight in this one. If Frevola comes out here and he's his usual self and he wants to just stand and bang and put on a show, he could win. He could win. Nelson's been hurt before. He could land a big shot. But if he does that, I have a feeling that Nelson will knock him out, because I do think that Nelson hits harder. And I do feel like Nelson is more durable out of the two of them and has taken less damage out of the two of them. So if Frevola comes out here and trades like he did against, who's that one guy? Valdez or a Zaitar or Dober or BSD. Like if he comes out there and tries to fight like that, I think Nelson's going to knock him out. But if he comes out here and he's striking with Nelson, you know, where I think it should be relatively close outside of the power advantage for Nelson, but then he's also mixing in wrestling, then I think he can have a lot of success, because Nelson's wrestling hasn't really been tested all that much lately. Really, like the last times people have attempted takedowns on him, you got to go back to Blake Builder, who I don't even know if he's in the UFC anymore. And who was before that? It was Billy Q, when Billy Q just exhausted him and got him out of there in the third round. Early, I think Nelson, you know, I don't think his cardio is bad. I do think he slows down a little bit. I don't see Frevola as a pace pusher like Billy, but he could push a pace, and I could see Nelson slowing down a little bit. But I do think that if Frevola wants to win this like clean and not get himself knocked out, he's going to have to wrestle. I lean towards him doing that. Now, this could also be biased because I really like Frevola, and I'm pretty ambivalent when it comes to Nelson. I don't really feel any way about him. He's just a fighter in the UFC. But I like Frevola. I'm a fan. So maybe I'm biased, but I just feel like on the feet it's close. Power advantage to Nelson. I do think he can knock out Frevola if he's not careful. But I do think Frevola also has a pretty solid advantage in the grappling. I think if he can get the takedowns, I think he can start to add on to it and start winning minutes. So for me, I'm going to go with Frevola. I'll go Frevola decision. I'm not super confident, and my gut is telling me Nelson might chin him, but I think I'm going to stick with Frevola as the pick. I highly doubt I'm going to end up on a side unless the line starts to move a little bit more, because right now it's pick 'em or close to. All right, next up we have Cody Gibson versus Aoriqileng. Gibson, he's going to be 21, 11-0, 38 years old, 5'10" with a 71-inch reach. On the other side, Aoriqileng, 25, 12-0. He's 32, so he's 6 years older. He's going to be 5'7", so he's 3 inches shorter, and he's going to have a 2-inch reach disadvantage. I taped this one briefly. I did not finish it. I just kind of looked at it because I knew people who were on Gibson, but I didn't see enough to get interested, so I just moved on to other stuff, and I'm going to go back to it. But I lean towards Gibson here. I'm not like insane about it. He's 38 years old, and like I get it. Aoriqileng, even though he's 32, he has not been looking very good, and he's very hittable. He can throw pretty low output at times, except for that banger with Molina. And he can also really struggle with the grappling, and Gibson can wrestle. So I get it. Like on the feet, I think Aoriqileng low-key hits harder, but I think that Gibson's probably going to throw more, do more. He'll target the body well, which I like about him. He does have that reach advantage. So if he can maintain the range a little bit, which he can at times, not always though, because like look at the Katona fight where he's fighting somebody much smaller than him with a much shorter reach, and he gave Katona exactly the fight he wanted to in the pocket, where Katona was able to land his shots. So, you know, I do have some concerns there, because Aoriqileng, he hits hard. He hits hard, and he's at a good gym. He's at fight ready. I know they're getting him ready there. And Yeah, overall on the feet, I lean towards Gibson a little bit just based off of volume. I think he's a little bit cleaner, but I do think that Aoriqileng can make it close on the feet. He's also a solid striker. I've always been a fan of his. I remember, I think I bet on him in his debut over Molina because I thought he was really exciting, and I thought he had a shot there to finish Molina. And, you know, he's got that dog in him too. He tries. It doesn't always work out for him, but he tries hard. The problem with him really is the grappling. Now, is Gibson going to come out here and do what Raul Rosas Jr. did or other better grapplers? I don't know. But because I don't think Gibson's like some kind of crazy, amazing offensive wrestler or some nasty jiu-jitsu practitioner, but he can wrestle a little bit. And I could see him mixing it in. And if I think he's better on the feet by a little, I think he's going to throw more volume. I trust him a little bit more. And I think he can grapple in this particular matchup. I am going to lean his way. I'm not super confident. I do want to retape it, but I'll go Gibson decision. Now, this is a fight. We got Manon Fiorot versus Jasmine Jasudavicius. Manon, she's 12-2-0, 35 years old, 5'7" with a 66-inch reach. Jasmine is 14-3-0. She's 1 year older at 36. She's got the same height, though, and she's going to have a 2-inch reach advantage. So, hear me out. Now, I'm as high on Manon as everybody else is. Last time when she fought Valentina, that was the first time I've ever bet against her. I've only bet on her. I bet the spread, her -3.5 spread against Rose. I really, really like her style. I like her striking a lot. I think she's a really good striker. I think she's very fast. I think that her kicks are really nice. I think that she mixes targets very well. And I think she hits relatively hard despite not having many finishes in the UFC. I think she's a really, really good striker. And she's smart because she's come into the UFC, and since the day she got here, and it's only improved, her takedown defense has been really good. And it's only gotten better and better. We've seen that now in multiple fights, including Shevchenko. But I do have some concerns still about the takedown defense and about her off of her back, and I'll talk about it in a second. And I would also say that, you know, like, yeah, she fought Blanchfield, but Blanchfield, if I'm not mistaken, she only shot a couple times. She didn't really try that hard for the takedown because she couldn't find Manon because of Manon's footwork. And then Valentina also, like, she tried a good amount of takedowns. She just couldn't get them. Manon seemed a little bit stronger than her. But she hasn't fought a grappler or anybody the size of Jasmine yet. And Jasmine's also very physical, very strong, which has been one of Manon's strengths. I think one of the only reasons she did so well against Valentina, not that she's not skilled, but I think Valentina was better. I think one of the reasons she competed still was she was so strong. And even Valentina struggled with her in the clinch. I feel like Jasmine is going to be maybe not as strong, but close. And she's going to be also really physical, really big. And Manon hasn't faced a grappler like that yet. That's one thing. The other thing is Manon, what's one thing about her game? She's super kick heavy, right? She's in that kind of sideways stance. She's throwing a lot of oblique kicks, a lot of push kicks to the body. She likes that kind of thing. But you saw her kind of slow down with the kicks after Valentina caught one and took her down and kept her there, right? And no one else really tried that on her before that. So I'm thinking Manon might come out here, start throwing kicks. If Jasmine catches one and takes her down, Manon might start not throwing those kicks as much. And that's when she gets a little bit less comfortable because she's really comfortable when she's able to be kicking and keeping her distance, and she uses her footwork to do so. But if she doesn't have those kicks available, she's a little bit more uncomfortable. Not that she's a bad boxer. She's got good hands too, but she's a lot more comfortable when she can mix it together and use those kicks. I think that's where she's strongest. The other thing is now we don't have a lot to go off of, right? She's only been taken down essentially in the Shevchenko fight. But here's the thing. She got taken down twice by Shevchenko. One of those times she got up really quickly. The other time she got stuck. What was the difference between the two of them? The one where she got stuck was in the open mat. The one where she got up really quickly was against the cage, right? So again, I'm working with a very little sample size here because she's not getting taken down much. But from what I see, when she has her back to the cage, she can pop back up. She knows what to do. She's clearly practiced it. She knows how to get back to her feet. But when she's flat on her back in the center of the cage or far away from the actual octagon, from the cage side, then I think she can get stuck. And again, now you have someone in Jasmine who is a good wrestler, who's very big, very physical. And once she gets on top, she has good control because she's very big and strong. If Jasmine takes her down in open space, I'm not convinced that Manon can get up at all. And if she can, Jasmine's going to start raining ground and pound. And Jasmine has good ground and pound. She's got really nasty elbows. And, this is more of a narrative-based thing, but Jasmine wants this. She's hungry. You can hear it in every interview she talks about. She wants this. She wanted this fight. And if she wins this, she'll probably get the title shot, maybe, or an eliminator, a rematch with Natalia Silva, because Natalia Silva is right there. But I do think there's a really good path here for Jasmine. Now, of course, not to say that, look, if I'm wrong about the things I'm saying and Manon is able to keep this on the feet, she's going to smoke Jasmine. She'll smoke her. It's not even close. Jasmine's not a comparable striker. She's getting a lot better. She's improved a lot in the striking. She's actually putting together some nice combinations at times, keeps it straight down the pipe. It's got some solid kicks, but she can't compete with Manon on her feet. In a kickboxing match, Manon is minus 10,000, but this is MMA. I'm not convinced this will be a kickboxing match. And I think Jasmine can get it done. So I'm going to go with Jasmine here. I'm going to go with the underdog to get the decision win. Next up, we have Marlon Vera versus Amin Zahabi. Vera, he's going to be 23, 10, and 1, 32 years old. He's going to be 5'8" with a 78.5-inch reach. On the other side, Zahabi, 13, 2, and 0. He's going to be 37 years old, so he's 5 years older. He's going to have the same height, though, and he's going to be at about a 2-inch reach disadvantage. So this is an interesting fight. On one hand, you have Marlon Vera, who has all the skills in the world, is a very, very good striker, and has a ton of power, some nasty kicks. He mixes targets really well. He goes to the body really nicely, but his output is really, really bad. It takes him a while to really start throwing. His output picks up as the fight goes on, and like he had the fight with Pedro Munoz where I think he landed over like 100-something significant strikes, but in order, he's very similar to Peter Yan, where he almost always loses the first round because he's got to get that read, and then he starts to let it go a little bit more. But he's a clean striker. He has a lot of weapons in his arsenal, and he hits really, really hard. His grappling's not the best. Takedown defense not the best. I think that's irrelevant here. I don't think Zahabi's really going to wrestle much. If he does, that could be smart to at least try, like maybe not necessarily commit and be like, oh, I'm going to work really hard to get this takedown, but just throw it in there just to give him something to think about. I think that would be good. But if they're not grappling, and I don't think they will, it's really interesting because Zahabi, he's clean. I used to not believe in this guy at all. And if you want to believe me, I bet Ricky Tercios against him as a favorite. So I have not believed in this guy. I've come around. I did back him against Aldo. I did back him at plus money against Aldo. That was one of the best nights of my life in terms of betting. But he's really grown on me. He's a very smart, educated striker. He doesn't overextend. He puts together nice combinations. He keeps it clean, straight down the pipe. He'll mix up targets pretty well. The kicks are solid. I would like for him to go for a few more leg kicks, but that's okay if he doesn't. Vera's got good leg kicks. But he's a good striker, and he is throwing more volume now, and he's fighting pretty smart. He does come out of TriStar. He's got his brother coaching him. They come in with good game plans. Here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that if Zahabi can handle the power of Vera, he's going to win this fight, and he's going to win by decision because I don't think he's got the power to knock out Vera, who I consider durable. And I think the most likely outcome here is Zahabi coming out here and just winning by throwing more, just by doing more and throwing more. Because skills-wise, I don't see where he's all that much better than Vera. I think it's very close, and I think Vera has more tools. I also think he's better in the clinch. But if Vera comes out here and he's not throwing a lot, which is average Marlon Vera, and he's taking a while to get his reads, then Zahabi's probably going to get the first round. And then the rest of the rounds are a toss-up. It'll probably be damage versus output. Now, Vera could catch him. I am thinking that Vera might be able to catch him with something big because I know Zahabi's striking defense numbers are pretty nice, and he does a good job moving his head, and he's got some semblance of range management, and he stays relatively safe. He's got like a 60-something% striking defense, 69. I still think he's hittable. I still feel like he's hittable, and I feel like Marlon Vera is going to land really big shots like he always does. And I do wonder if Zahabi can eat those because I do think he could possibly get finished by Vera, but if he doesn't, I think he probably gets a decision. It helps that he's fighting at home and he's on this run now too, but I think this is a really close fight, and it's a hard fight to call. Next up, we have our co-main event of the evening. We've got Kevin Holland versus Mike Mallet. Kevin Holland, he's going to be 28, 14, and 0, 32 years old, 6'3" with an 81-inch reach. Malott is going to be 12-2-1. He's 33. He's 1 year older. He's going to be 2 inches shorter, and he's going to be at a, holy moly, I didn't even realize that. He's going to be at an 8-inch reach disadvantage. So I posted a meme earlier this week, and it's just every time it's the same thing with Kevin Holland. There's always this cycle. First, nobody believes in him. Guy can't grapple. Guy can't this. Guy doesn't want it. Guy gets paid too much. Doesn't care about winning. And they fade him when he's plus money. Then he wins. And all of a sudden, he's the greatest thing we've ever seen. The best thing. He's going to challenge for the title. He's going to do this thing. Now he's minus 500. Then he loses. And then the cycle starts over every single time. And we're starting over, I guess. Now, in this one, I think it's a really interesting fight. With Malott, I think he does pose problems for Holland. Like on the feet, I like Holland striking a lot better. I think he's faster than Malott. I think he might hit harder than Malott. I think that when he's able to maintain the distance and manage his range, I love his striking. He's got a really clean 1-2 down the pipe. He's very fast. He hits very hard. He's got a clean jab. He's good in the pocket too, despite being long and lanky. He's got really good clinch knees, nasty clinch knees. He has good elbows off the break. He's got good kicks. He'll hit all the targets with them. I really like his striking. We all do. We all know Kevin Holland is a great striker. He's very athletic, very fast, and very powerful. Now, he does struggle with the grappling sometimes. That can happen here in the Malott fight. I'll talk about the Malott grappling in a second. But, for the most part, at welterweight, I don't think his takedown defense is better at welterweight. I think that's a made-up narrative that people came up with. I don't think that's true, because if you look at his welterweight fights, he's getting taken down just as much as he was getting taken down as a middleweight. Like, let me pull it up. Gunnar Nelson took him down 3 times, racked up plenty of control time. Who else tried to grapple him? Hamzat, we don't count, and I don't think that was at welterweight. Tim Means took him down twice. Alex Oliveira took him down twice. Like, when he's at welterweight, he's still getting taken down when people are trying to wrestle him and have some wrestling. The difference is that when he's at welterweight, he has an easier time getting back up. He has a little bit better of an ability to scramble back up to his feet. But when he's at middleweight, they're heavier, they're stronger. Once they get on top, he has a hard time getting back up. So I don't believe in the narrative that, at welterweight, he's much better with the take. No, his takedown defense somehow still hasn't improved all that much. It's gotten better, but it hasn't improved as much as I would want it to. But his get-ups are better at welterweight. That I'll admit. He's hard to trust. Things happen with him. But another thing that I am a little bit concerned about with Kevin Holland is, you look at the D-Rod fight. What dropped him the first time? It was a left hook when Holland had his hands low and was coming into the pocket. Mallott's got a nasty left hook. And while I'm not the highest person ever on Malott, he's dangerous with the hands when he's in the pocket, and he is relatively fast. And if Holland lowers those hands and crashes the pocket sloppy, I think Malott could get him. I do think he can. But here's the thing with Malott. Ever since the Neil Magny fight, I think because that was the first time he's gone the distance, or he didn't go the distance, but made it to the 3rd round since that one Bellator fight that went to a draw. It was like in 2018 or even longer ago. I don't remember. But after that Magny fight, after he lost, you see, like, he's not really shooting. Now, he's only had 2 fights. Maybe it's stylistically, he just didn't feel like he should shoot. But against Giles, he shot once. That's it. Didn't push the grappling whatsoever. And against Iraqi, he didn't shoot at all. So if I'm right in thinking that he's not shooting because he's worried about draining his gas tank, then that might be a good thing for Kevin Holland. Because if Mike Malott only thinks, maybe he'll go for a takedown or 2, maybe he'll get one, but he doesn't think he has the cardio to keep doing it, he might not grapple as much. And that's going to be great for Holland. Or in the alternative, if he disregards the cardio and grapples hard because Holland's having success on the feet, he might gas. I also think he's not throwing much because he's scared of getting tired. When we look at the fight that got extended, the Trevin Giles fight that went the distance, he was not throwing a lot. And I think it was because he was scared of gassing out again. So it's only been 2 fights since he gassed out against Magny and lost. Is he that confident in his cardio where those things I just talked about aren't going to happen? I don't know. If Malott comes out here and he's smart He's throwing a good amount of volume, not overextending, waiting for Holland to crash the pocket, then throwing those big combinations in the pocket. I think he can get him. If he's mixing in some wrestling while also doing that, I think he can get him. If he can wobble Holland and get him to shoot, I think he can front choke him. I think there's a path for Mallet. But if he comes out here and he's not throwing a lot, or he's not wrestling a lot, or both, I think Holland can start to run away with this, because Holland is a much better striker. Even if Mallet is going to take him down, Holland is going to be difficult to keep down on the ground. That might tire Mallet out. Holland definitely has a better cardio. We know Holland has great cardio. So it's like, I don't really know how confident I am in Holland, but I kind of lean towards his way, and I lean towards him getting it done. I don't know if I'm ready to bet on him, because I don't love betting on Holland. Long before people realized how volatile he is, I realized how volatile he is. But I do think that, I don't love that he's fighting the hometown guy. I don't love that he's fighting a guy who does have some advantages over him, like in the grappling. But for the reasons I said, I think Holland, he can keep this on the feet, and I think he can just outstrike Mallet. I don't know that he's going to knock him out. Maybe he can knock out Mike late, like in the third round, if Mike gets tired again. But otherwise, I think a decision's on the table. I'll lean the Holland side. I do think it's a close fight. I don't blame anybody on either side, but that's the way I lean. Last up, we have Reinier de Ridder versus Brendan Allen. RDR, he's going to be 21-2-0, 35 years old, 6'4" with a 78-inch reach. Brendan Allen, 25-7-0. He's 29, so he's going to be 6 years younger. He's 2 inches shorter, and he's going to be at a 3-inch reach disadvantage. So this is a fight that I need to tape more. I didn't look at this one a lot because I saw the line and I just wasn't super interested, so I moved on to other ones. But for now, with only a little bit of tape, like I do lean RDR. I think the 5 rounds probably favors him. I think that, but like his cardio is not that good, and Allen has pretty good cardio. Like I think this is a really competitive fight. I'll be honest with you guys. I do think that RDR is probably going to wear on Allen, and I do think those knees that he just learned how to do literally against Bo Nickel, literally never did them before, but now it's his primary weapon. I do think that those clinch knees are going to be a good weapon in this fight. I do think he's going to be able to clinch up Brendan Allen. I do think he's going to be able to land those shots. But like at space, is RDR a better boxer, striker, kickboxer, whatever you want to say, than Brendan Allen? Not really. Not really. He throws very loopy. It's very slow, very labored. Like we've seen that time and time again. He's very slow and very labored on the feet. And Brendan Allen, he's not the world's best striker, but he's pretty good, and he's improved the striking part of his game a lot recently. In the past few years, not really that recently, but in the past few years, he's improved the striking a lot, and I think that he's at least the cleaner kickboxer. I mean, the cleaner boxer. Now you mix in the clinch and the knees of RDR, yeah, like I can see where RDR will start to have success too. But at space, I feel like Brendan Allen's a little bit better. And then the grappling, I think, is really interesting. I need to go back. And I need to go and look at RDR's takedown defense because I don't remember it that well. I taped the Nickel fight. I know Nickel got him down once, but didn't really do much with it. I do wonder if Brendan can take him down because I think he's going to try. I think they're both going to try to take each other down. Brendan's got pretty good takedown defense. I do think as he starts to slow down, it might become easier for RDR to grapple him, but I'm pretty sure RDR can slow down too, and I can see Brendan Allen having some success in the grappling as well. So this one is pending more tape. I need to do more. I need to look more. I'm going to lean towards RDR. I'm going to lean RDR decision, but I do need to look at it a little bit more because he beat my guy Bobby Knuckles last time out. I love Whitaker. You guys know this, but Whitaker also didn't really look like himself, and he looked like he got gas trying to finish RDR because he did drop him really hard. So I have my concerns, and I also can't really get over the RDR GM3 fight. I thought he looked horrible on the feet there. So I do have some questions here. I do think this is a winnable fight for Brendan Allen, but for now, until I retape it and look more, I'm going to lean towards RDR. And that's it, guys. That's UFC Vancouver. Thank you guys all for tuning in. We've got 625 of you guys, which is very cool. Now, if more of you were on YouTube, that would be even better, but it is what it is. I'll run through the picks one more time, and then we'll get on out of here. I'm going Lisboa, Bekoev, Luciano, Dogger pass, Dober, Dogger pass, Barlow, Park for now, pending tape, Jourdain, Frevola, Gibson pending more tape, Jasmine, Zahabi pending more tape, Holland, and RDR pending more tape. Thank you guys all for tuning in. Yeah, but I don't think RDR has gone 5 rounds with that much more than him either. Let me pull it up. I know he went 5 rounds with Bobby Knuckles, and then I think in one he might have gone 5 rounds. I don't remember. So he had a title fight against Malik, he lost that one, subbed Big Dash. Yes, so he's been 5 rounds also one time against Ong Long Sang. So your point stands for both of them. All right, guys. Thank you guys all for tuning in. Peace out and good luck this weekend.